Before we get started, we just want to thank Old Republic Surety for sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety, as well as NASBP virtual seminars for the 5th year in a row. For more information on Old Republic Surety, visit www.orsurety.com. Now on to our show.
You're listening to Let's Get Surety. Let me hear your bonding talk with Kat Shamapande.
Hey everyone, it's Kat Shamapande. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Let's Get Surety. I've got with me my co-host, Mark McCallum, CEO of NASBP. Hey Mark, thanks for being on.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
And I know you're as excited as I am about the topic today. We're talking about jobs in the surety industry on the agency side.
And we've got jobs.
We've got jobs. And to talk about that with us today, we've got two recent or fairly recent surety school graduates with us from NASBP's surety schools. We've got Cashion McMillen. He's partner and executive vice president of operations with the Cashion company. Thanks for being on, Cash.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And we also have Brianna Stephenson, surety bond specialist and marketing manager with Parrot Surety Services. Thanks for being on, Brianna.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So we're going to we're going to dive right in on this topic because usually we ask our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves and about their organizations, but that's all we're going to talk to you guys about today. So we're going to dive right in. So the first question I just wanted to ask you guys, how did you find your first job in the surety industry? Cash, do you want to take that one?
Of course I can. So long, weird career path for me. I initially wanted to be a physical therapist. It turns out I'm not very smart when it comes to sciences. So, but my degree is in, health and behavioral science. And from there, I had an opportunity to get into the construction and land services world, a lot of GIS mapping, land development world. Oil and gas was a part of that. And for those of you that know about the Fayetteville Shale in Arkansas, it kind of dried up around 2012 in the oil and gas industry. And so from there, I tripped and fell into the insurance world. A lot of my friends that I went to college with, roommates, were in the risk management programs, majors, and were in the insurance world in underwriting. And so I took a large pay cut, went into ground level insurance company operations, so rating, assisting, and then learned, took classes, took seminars, everything I could get my hands on, and found my way into underwriting departments. And so my path started there on the insurance side, worked into underwriting in the middle market sector in Arkansas, and then found myself to be in underwriting management for the state of Arkansas with a carrier. And that's when I met and came to know the Cashion company and Matt Cashion, and eventually had the opportunity to join the agency as a producer and started learning the bonding side. I didn't know how to spell surety before I joined the Cashion company.
I don't think you're alone in that when people find the surety industry.
Right.
Hey, Brianna, so how did you find your first job in the surety industry?
So actually I was working in healthcare. I was I had just turned 20 and I was working in healthcare, and I remember something happened. COVID had happened. Actually, it was the beginning of COVID, and I did not want to be in healthcare anymore. It was just, I ended up getting furloughed for a few months, and then I got terrified because I was like, I really don't want to be, around a bunch of germs all the time. So I ended up applying for a receptionist job at a different agency. And I remember coming home and I was like, Mom, I got the job because I interviewed, and 20 minutes later I got a phone call or an email and they said, we're going to offer you the job. So I remember going home like, Mom, I'm going to go work for this bond agency. And she goes, Brianna, I really want you to be careful writing bail bonds. Like, that's not always safe. And I was like, I don't think it's bail bonds. It says surety bonds, but I'm not really sure what that is. So I remember Googling it and I remember being like, I don't know what that is. So, she was like, just be careful. And my now husband was like, yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I'm like, well, it's a normal job. Like, it's not in a sketchy area. I mean, it wasn't. It was in a normal office building, and it wasn't across from a jail or anything. And so I remember going in, and I think one of the first days, I asked one of the owners, I was like, hey, so like, how many bail bonds do you guys write? And they were like, excuse me? And I was like, oh, okay. And I immediately was told, like, it's not the same thing. Well, I mean, it's like, similar, but it's not the same. Like, it was, construction, commercial, et cetera. And I kind of just, like, Cash that I literally fell in, had no idea what was going on. So as the receptionist, I became more and more interested. Then I started filling out bond forms, and it kind of just went from there, where I kind of just grew and my knowledge grew, and I was getting my hands on everything and anything I could knowledge wise. And I mean, I still do that. So now it's grown since then. So it's been almost 3 years since I've been doing it. And I
Wow.
always get made fun of at NASBP when I go to like an event, because they're like, aren't you too young? And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but so yeah.
Those are great stories, and
They
and
are.
it really shows that the industry really needs talent from wherever it might come. I'm curious from both of you. Maybe I'll ask Cash first to react to this. But what kind of skills do you think you were able to transfer uh, into your position in Surety? You have that diverse background. Kind of what are the things that you kind of draw down upon that you first learned and that apply also to your work in Surety?
Well, I think that's a great question. I could come up with several answers for that, but I think first and foremost is people skills. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a good attitude and you're motivated to learn uh, and work as a team in an office setting, we can train anybody. I mean, I'm proof of that. You can train anybody on the particulars of surety bonding, but it's having that right attitude and wanting to grow, and those people skills that really are the biggest factor in that. I mean, I could talk about the previous construction experience that I had being out in the field in an oil and gas setting, and being familiar with the path of a construction job from start to finish, from the planning to the test digging to every facet of it. But of course, that helps. But I think the people skills and the just the basics of being able to be a good human being and work as a team are the biggest transfer. I mean, we can train the rest of it, right?
Right, right. That's great. How about
Yeah.
you, Brianna?
So previous to like healthcare, I trained protection dogs, and you have to pay attention to details and you have to have patience. And I think I was able to transfer a lot of that over too. So I'm a quick worker and a quick learner, but sometimes I couldn't be quick, and I would get kind of nipped about it because they'd be like, you need to slow down because you missed this. So finally I slowed down and I would pay attention to the details, and so then I started finding things in contracts that maybe somebody else didn't find or they didn't see. And it was kind of a big deal. I think one of the times it was consequential damages. And that was something that is kind of a big deal to, certain people. So I think I was able to transfer having patience, because sometimes it does take time to get things approved. Sometimes it takes time to run through a contract and really thoroughly understand it. And I pay attention to details. So that's one of the biggest things I think I was able to kind of transfer over.
And Brianna, you talked about it a little bit when you first mentioned, and now when you were talking about that. But what does an average work day look like for you?
Well, now I fill out bond forms, I set up files, I produce a lot of marketing content for our agency. I also write a lot of our, educational stuff. So we have a blog, and I write we try and stick to like educational things for contractors, and I write all of the educational content. Um, Things like that. Sometimes we usually do an account review, which I think is very helpful because the surety industry is ever changing. So I really like that my boss, Nicole, will do an account review, and she will go through financials, or she'll go through a bond form, or if we have any questions about it, she'll be like, okay, this is what it is. Or if we don't understand the obligation, because sometimes we see things that we're like, what is going on here? And she'll be able to explain to us what it is, or things like that. So that's really like my day to day, is just setting up new accounts, helping getting them approved, filling out the bond forms, and producing content and things like that. A lot of the times I am reaching out to prospects or leads. So I do a lot of, like online researching, or I call it stalking, but that's what we do. So that's what,
I
yeah,
noticed
that's
that in
my
your
day.
LinkedIn tagline. I thought that was great.
Well, it was so boring for so long. It was like pursuing degree at blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's boring. Let's make this a little more fun. So I've had a few people comment and be like, oh, so you're stalking my company. I'm like, I sure am. So,
That's
That's
great.
funny.
How
Cash,
about you? Yeah.
what's your day look like?
Well, I'm on the production side, so no 2 days look the same for me. Really, we're very active in trade associations in Arkansas, in particular. So there's lots of event. I mean, there's several each week that we try to go to and be present and be seen. Um, just one of those arenas where you get exposure to lots of different contractors. You participate in the events, the seminars. This anytime you can get up in front of people and be that voice that they hear, that they understand and trust. So a lot of that, but also obviously reaching out to new prospects, talking to them about their bonding program, their insurance program, and a lot of fielding phone calls and gathering information for the Briannas of the world. We have two amazing account managers here that handle all of our surety, and I work for them. I hand them, forward them email requests for bid bonds or whatnot, or even new prospects, and they tell me, all right, here's what else I need from you, and it's my job to go get it. And so, working as a team with them and understanding that I don't know everything, and that I need that they need me to get them more information to make this successful is a huge part of that.
Well, in both your stories, I think two words leapt to mind that I hear is adaptability and being curious, and that and both those seem to have served you well, and you're pursuing your surety responsibilities. Would you say that's true, Brianna?
100%. Like I said, there's no same day ever, or there's no same contract. Well, I mean, I guess there could be, but I feel like there never is. And so, um, having to adapt to your daily operations, or like what you do daily, is crucial. And I mean, I'm good at adapting, so it works for me. Like, and I thrive in chaos for some reason. So, like, when it's crazy busy, I'm living my best life. Like, this is my favorite day. When I get 10 bond forms that I need to get done that day, that's my favorite day. And I don't know why, but it is. But I've had to learn how to adapt to that too, is that some bond forms take longer, some don't, like whatever it might be. um and you have to be curious. Like, that's one of the biggest things. Like, I always ask questions. So there was a bond form a few weeks ago, and it said something in it, and I can't off the top of my head remember, but I immediately went to my boss. I was like, hey, like, what is this? I think it was a forfeiture clause or something. But it was worded a little differently. It was very onerous. she was like, oh, that's what this is. I'm like, okay, cool. So now when I go and I see it again, I'm like, okay, red flag, like whatever it might be. And that's something that I think is also crucial, is if you are not curious, or if you don't want to continue to learn on it daily, then, because there's always something new to learn, then I don't know if you would really thrive in it, because it's always changing.
Right. Wow, great point. And I know, Cash, probably your clients are depending on you to issue spot things for them as they're trying to succeed in their business and need your assistance. You feel that's true for how you go about your work?
Yes, absolutely, and that's, I agree with what Brianna said, that it's never the same thing every day, so it's always a challenge. You're always curious and looking for those differences, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. And also, on the other side of things, talking to the underwriters about what is different about this, and it's a lot better when you bring it up and they before they right. For example, the other day I went down a rabbit hole, had a client with a need of a reclamation bond, which are very difficult to place, right? Because they're usually an open-ended, think of it as a shale pit. They're going to borrow material from this, and it's going to be a shale pit forever. People are going to dump their old washers and dryers there, right? Well, very difficult to place. Talked to several underwriters that couldn't do it. Well, after I went down the rabbit hole and understood the reasons why it was difficult, and understood, I was able to figure out that, okay, this is not just a borrow pit. This is for development. They're going to borrow the material, and then they're going to reclaim all of it immediately. And the surety is actually not going to be at risk like they think they are, right? And so once you explain that correctly and spot that key point, and are able to explain it, it was 5 minutes later. We're like, oh, okay, one of those epiphany moments. Yeah, we're great with this. So that it's challenging, but it's also fun when when that light bulb comes on.
That's great. It's almost like, to a certain extent, you're dealing with puzzles on a day-to-day basis, something unique, putting things together and figuring out things for your agency, your clients, and others. What would you say is your most satisfying either activity that you do or moment that you've had in your surety path so far? Brianna, would you like to be first up on that?
Like in my day-to-day operations, or like my career so far?
Either or both.
Yeah.
Okay. Day-to-day, I love getting an approval. Like, that's just so satisfying. But I feel like that's everyone. Like, getting that approval, like, hey, yeah, that's good. Like, okay, thank you. And then, like, being able to run with that. I think my career-wise, my most satisfying moments are when I can teach someone something. Like, I love when I can actually explain something. And I don't know if you guys, I'm the type of person where it makes sense in my head, but sometimes I can't get it out to where it makes sense. So trying to explain it to someone can be hard. But when I can actually explain it to someone and then be like, oh, hey, and it clicks, that's most satisfying for me. And then the other most satisfying thing for me is finishing a surety school. Like I said, I call myself a knowledge junkie. If I can learn, I'm going to. And I love taking it all in. So, I love finishing like surety school, like the segments, levels, whatever you want to call it. Like, I love finishing those and knowing like, okay, I did this, I learned something new, and being able to take it back and help other people with it.
That's terrific. And you've been to a lot of different levels of surety school, Brianna. You came to level 1, commercial.
And 2, yeah. So I'm waiting for level 3. I'm waiting for level 3 to happen because I think it's every other year. And then I do want to do commercial level 2. So we will see.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Nice. How about for you, Cash? What are your most satisfying moments?
Well, I thought a few of those that Brianna said were exactly my thoughts as well. The teaching others, of course, getting approvals are, a high five moment. But what I've found to be most satisfying is now that my career's kind of developed and I've been to level 1, level 2, and have kind of some validation that I kind of know what I'm doing now. I know not even close to where I need to be, but getting questions and even referrals from other agents that are my competitors. So when I get that phone call from a competitor that I compete with on insurance accounts every day, where they have a difficult bond situation and they're actually referring me their clients for their to get a difficult bond done or to counsel them on their financials, how to get them in a better position to be able to bond in the future. That's tremendously satisfying, and part of that goes to helping teach them as well during that process. One of those in particular, in 2022, after I was able to help this competitor's customer, they were able to triple their revenue and triple their profit percentage in that calendar year. That's awesome. After getting them up to speed, about a month and a half worth of work with them. So talk about tremendously satisfying. And my competitor was very thankful and appreciative. And now, we have this different sort of relationship because of it.
Those are great stories. Yeah.
And you both mentioned your careers and the growth in your careers. When did you realize it was more than just a job and it was a career? Cash, do you have an instance when that happened or path that led you to that?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question. I think that once I realized, you have those validating moments as you're training, where it changes from you asking 50 questions a day to 5 questions a day, and then others coming to you for help that validates kind of I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm learning it, and now I'm able to help others. I mean, like Brianna said, helping others and teaching them is a natural progression that you don't even realize is happening. And once you see that and feel like you're helpful, it's very rewarding, and that's kind of when it set in that this is I've gone down the right career path.
How about you, Brianna?
Okay, so I didn't wake up as a kid and say, I want to work in the surety industry. You know what I mean? But now that I'm in it, I don't think I would ever leave it. Like there is nothing that would ever make me leave it because it's now like near and dear to my heart and I love it so much. Like you can ask my friends, family, whatever, they get annoyed because I'm like, oh my God, I love the surety industry. And they're like, okay, we're tired of hearing about it, right? So about the second day in of level 1, I cried a little bit because financials were stressing me out. But after I got my like good cry out in my hotel room, I was like, I love this. I had Dawn Neville and Nick Newton taught my class. They were absolutely wonderful. Instructors. So after having them for about a day, I was like, I love them as instructors, as colleagues, peers, whatever you want to call it. And I loved my class. So I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I love this. And I loved the way that they taught. So I made it a point. I was like, I am going to teach this one day. Like I will be a teacher. And so, that's really when I decided like this is going to be my lifelong career. As long as it's in the game, I'm in the game. So
that's such a good point. And so many of the faculty for Surety School do come from students who've attended. I know Cash's boss, Matt Cashion, was a Surety School student before he became faculty, and now he's been teaching for 35 years. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys could talk to someone who was just graduating from college and not sure what they want to do with themselves, regardless of what their degree was, what they thought their focus would be, what would you say to them about why they might want to take a look at the surety industry and a career in surety?
I love this topic, first of all. Through the insurance associations, we do a lot of programs with some universities locally. And what we found is that when a student is asking questions about careers, say you're doing a career panel, they don't even know what questions to ask. When they think this industry, they think sales 100%, and they don't want to be on a commission, and they want to have a guaranteed salary because they've got a lot of student loans to pay for. And so what we found that they need is education as to the opportunities, that it's not just sales, and it's not just sitting behind a desk and processing paper. In some ways, this industry can use business consultants, experts in business, experts in finance, experts in lots of different areas. If you're really super nerdy, you can be an actuary and do some smart people things, right? Which is great for some people. It's a perfect fit. And then the accounting side. I mean, there's so many opportunities to translate from these cookie cutter college degrees into being an effective person in the surety world. And a lot of kids just don't realize that at all. They see the cookie cutter, the careers class from 8th grade or on, definitions of what it should be. And it's really that's a long way to go to say, let's talk about how you can create value in an industry that's underserved.
Brianna, what about you? What would you say to someone who's just graduating from college about getting into surety?
So I actually chose my degree after I got into surety, and I am still working towards getting a very cookie cutter degree. It's just a business degree. But I knew what I wanted to do anyway, so I had it. So what I would tell them, and one of my biggest things is like, we are changing infrastructure around the US and the globe because now there are other countries requiring surety bonds. So not only have we made such a change in the US on it, and we continue to, like I'm in FSA, and they frequently try and get obligees to take surety bonds over ILOCs or, whatever they provide, that we have now pushed it so far into the globe. It's crazy to me, like the amount that it's growing. But I would tell them that it's a new thing every day. It's a new challenge. It doesn't get boring. You can go. My favorite thing is going and seeing job sites. Dredging sites, my favorite thing ever, because it doesn't make sense to me. How do you pretty much tell the ocean to hold on, let me dig out some sand and it work out, right? It doesn't make sense to me, but I still love seeing it and I love bonding it. But one of my best friend is in college, and well, we both are, but she, has struggled with picking her degree. And I told her, I was like, there's so much you can do in this industry. It's not just one thing. Like there's so many different things, so many, like you could do analytics in a surety company. Like there's just so many different roles that you can take and so many different things that could happen that it's fun. Like every day is fun. And the people you meet they're fun and they're knowledgeable. And it's not, to me, I view it as an industry, but I also view it as kind of a big family because we're a very specific product. So when you do have to call somebody else or you have to refer out or whatever, that's like, for me, that's kind of like I'm calling my aunt, hey, who do you have for car insurance? But I'm actually calling up, I'm calling up Cash, hey, can you help me out here? So for me, it's like we're one big family, and it's just, I don't know, like it's very hard to explain because I love it so much. Like I'm very passionate about it. But that's just one of those things that as you're graduating, don't look for something that you're going to sit at a desk and you're going to hate in 5 years because that's boring. Nobody wants to sit, I sit at a desk, but nobody wants to sit at a desk 24/7 all the time, right? Like you eventually get tired of it. Find something that's going to change that you can grow in. That's another thing. Always find a job you can grow in because you don't want to be stuck at the bottom of the totem pole forever because then you're going to get mad, you're going to get upset, whatever it might be. And so that's my biggest thing. And find an industry like us that are making a change in the world. Not some, and I feel like we really are, especially now that, like solar's really booming and things like that. Like that's such a good thing for the world. And we're right in there with them. So I guess I'm kind of a tree hugger too. I don't know. But that's my biggest thing is like, find something that you are going to love and that is going to change because being in that job that's boring, that is the same thing every day, you're eventually not going to love. Like my mom is going to be 62 this month. She sees what I do every day and she's more interested in my job than her own job. And because she's like, what are you doing now? What's going on? And I may be griping about trying to fill out a bond form because it was, pre-written over or whatever. And she's like, what are you doing? And she is so interested. Like she wants in the industry. She thinks she's too old, but she wants in the industry. And I'm like, that right there just shows me that what we do is interesting. If you can hook, line, and sinker someone into the industry, it's something that they're probably going to love forever.
That's great.
That's
You
great.
guys you've sold me. So I hope you sold some new surety professionals that don't know they're going to be surety professionals yet as well.
Yeah,
I had
thank you for
something
your.
to add
Sure,
to
go
that
for it, Cash.
actually. So, just some of the opportunities that we get in this industry, you find yourself in very fun places, whether it be trips or customers or projects or things like that. And, it just occasionally comes up in casual conversation. Somebody mentions something. I'm from this area. Oh yeah, I was on a project down there recently and they were doing this, this, and this. And to get that look, they're almost mad. They say, what do you do for a living? And to be able to just kind of laugh and explain, it's like, I have a really cool job. I get to go on these, whether it's a dredge site or a bridge over a national park river. It's really cool to just make someone be taken aback and just say, what on earth do you do every day? So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And there's opportunities for others who want to get in and get that off factor as well. Well, it's been great having you guys both on with us. I hope we can have you back again sometime on another episode as we can watch your careers develop and see where you go from here, because I know you're both only going up.
You've been listening to Let's Get Surety, brought to you by the National Association of Surety Bond Producers. For more information about the NASBP and its members, visit nasbp.org.
Before we go, we just want to say thank you again to Old Republic Surety for their generous support in sponsoring this episode of Let's Get Surety. For more information on Old Republic Surety, visit www.orsurety.com.